Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the February 9th, 2016 meeting of the Downers Grove Village Council. My name is David Olson, and it's my pleasure to serve as the Mayor Pro Tem for the Village Downers Grove. Today, as Mayor Tully is not joining us, not able to join us, he is traveling. It's my pleasure to call this meeting to order. There are copies of our agenda on either side of the room. Feel free to pick one up and follow along. We also have multiple opportunities for public comment, both with items appearing on tonight's agenda and with respect to items not appearing on tonight's agenda. I'll call for those as appropriate. We'd like to start our meeting by reciting the pledge, so please stand and join me in reciting the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And now I ask our village clerk, April Holden, to please call the roll.
Commissioner Waldeck.
Here.
Commissioner White.
Here.
Commissioner Timo. Here. Commissioner Jose.
Here.
Commissioner Olson.
Here.
Commissioner Barnett.
Here.
Mayor Tully.
Thank you. We have a quorum. The next item is minutes of previous council meetings. Is there a motion with respect to the minutes?
I move that we approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes are approved. The fourth item on our agenda is public comment. This is a time for general comment with respect to items not appearing on tonight's agenda. Are there any general comments at this time? Please step forward, state your name, and we welcome hearing from you.
My name is Andrew Thompson. Continue.
Go ahead. Yes.
You know, I've got electronic presentation here as well, so I'd like to pass that off if that's possible.
Yeah. Mr. Baker will assist.
Look at the address.
And I'll remind you, to facilitate an effective meeting, we do ask that our speakers limit your comments to 5 minutes in length.
Okay.
Thank you.
Fantastic. So I am here to just discuss an administrative fee that I was assessed by the Village of Downers Grove for driving with a suspended license. My argument is that when I was pulled over, my license actually was not suspended, okay? So to give you the background of what transpired in the beginning of September, I was pulled over for speeding. The police officer ran my license and it came back in the database as being suspended. So the officer did everything that he was supposed to do. I was actually arrested, taken down to the police station, my car was towed, and I was assessed an administrative fee, okay? But what I'm contending is that my license was in fact not suspended, okay? So at that point, the rights that I have is I have the ability to go to an administrative hearing and try and reclaim this $500 fee that I was assessed, okay? So I did go to the administrative hearing, and if you hit the next button, during that administrative hearing, I received a letter letting me know when the hearing was taking place, and also in the letter it says something along the lines of, if you are attending this administrative hearing because you believe the driver's license was suspended in error by the Secretary of State, it is strongly recommended that you obtain a driving abstract for court purposes. So I brought evidence to show that my license was in fact not suspended, okay? And that's the evidence that I brought to the administrative hearing. When I got to the administrative hearing, the hearing officer said, don't worry about the evidence, I'm not gonna look at it, I'm just gonna go straight to the source, and I'm gonna call the state to find out what they have to say about whether your license was in fact suspended or not. Okay, now the conflicting thing comes in with the fact that my license was held with the state of Pennsylvania. So the hearing officer had to call the state of Pennsylvania, and it was difficult for him to find the information. And eventually what ended up happening is a Downers Grove police officer called the state of Pennsylvania to try and obtain information as to whether my license was suspended. My problem is that I brought necessary evidence to the hearing, and it wasn't even reviewed. It was something else that the hearing officer tried to call the state of Pennsylvania, the police officer, Downers Grove police tried to call the state of Pennsylvania, and it turns out that I received something in the mail from Downers Grove, I guess the Village of Downers Grove, that stated that the ruling had come against me. So if you go to the next page, you can see that the ruling was levied against me, and I did owe this $500 fee, okay? Now, the thing I just want to address, though, is that if you look at the date of the hearing, or of the decision, you can see it's November 19th if you hit the arrows down in the next arrow. So you can see that the date of the hearing or the decision was made on November 19th, okay? You can also see that I have the right to appeal that decision by filing a proper lawsuit against the Village of Downers Grove by going to DuPage County Court to do so. So, you know, I know for a fact my license was suspended. I wanted to fight this. So, of course, I went to the the DuPage County Court to file a proper lawsuit against the Village of Downers Grove. So, if the problem is, though, if you go to the next slide, I didn't receive that notification with the determination date of November 19th until, if you hit the next arrow, until January 7th. So, I only had 35 days to file a lawsuit against the Village of Downers Grove based on that November 19th decision date. And I didn't receive any notification until January 7th, or when the postmark of the letter was sent to me, okay? So when I went to the DuPage County Court, they wouldn't even accept my, lawsuit attempt against the Village of Downers Grove. So my concern here is that, number one, my license was not suspended. I had evidence to show that it wasn't suspended. I brought that to the hearing, and the hearing officer didn't look at that evidence. The court ruled against me. I had the ability to file a lawsuit, but because I didn't find out until almost 2 months after the date of the decision, I couldn't even file a lawsuit. So the only appeal, or the only action I have left is to come here and present to you guys, and hopefully I can show you the evidence to in fact show that my license was indeed valid on that date, or I can at least request another administrative hearing, because this is an injustice and it's just not right.
All right. Thank you for your comments. Is there further public comment this time? Hearing none, we'll close public comment. We'll move on to the consent agenda. There are several items on the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Is there any discussion from members of the public on the consent agenda? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Commissioner White?
Aye.
Commissioner Waldeck?
Aye.
Commissioner Fatimo?
Aye.
Commissioner Jose?
Aye.
Commissioner Barnett?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Olson?
Aye. That matter passes unanimously. Next, we move to our active agenda, item 6A. Is there a motion with regard to this item?
I move that the village borrow funds from the Illinois, I move that we adopt an ordinance authorizing the Village of Downers Grove, DuPage County, Illinois, to borrow funds from the Public Water Supply Loan Program with the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency as presented.
Aye. Second.
Is there any discussion from members of the public on this item? Is there any discussion from members of the village council? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Commissioner White?
Aye.
Commissioner Waldeck?
Aye.
Commissioner Fatimo?
Aye.
Commissioner Jose?
Aye.
Commissioner Barnett?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Olson?
Aye. That matter passes unanimously. The next item is item 6B. Is there a motion with regard to this item?
I move to adopt an ordinance providing for the issuance of general obligation refunding bonds for the Village of Downers Grove, DuPage County, Illinois, in the aggregate principal amount not to exceed $8,400,000, and providing for the levy and collection of a direct annual tax for the payment of the principal of and interest on said bonds as presented.
Second.
Is there any discussion from members of the public on this item? Any discussion from members of the village council? Roll call, please.
Commissioner White?
Aye.
Commissioner Waldeck?
Aye.
Commissioner Fatimo?
Aye.
Commissioner Jose?
Aye. Commissioner
Commissioner Barnett?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Olson?
Aye. That matter passes unanimously. The next item is item 6C. Is there a motion with regard to the item?
I move that the village adopt a resolution supporting restoration of funds for the Meals on Wheels program as presented.
Second.
I believe there is an amendment that's been proposed in writing in front of the village clerk. It would be to add language in the resolved clause after the word "to," after the second "to," to add the words, "the governor, the Speaker of the House, the President of the Senate, the Minority Leader of the Senate, the Minority Leader of the House, and then continue on. So therefore, that resolved clause would read, "Be it further resolved that the village clerk be and is hereby authorized and directed to forward this resolution to the governor, the Speaker of the House, the President of the Senate, the Minority Leader of the Senate, the Minority Leader of the House, and all local state legislators, and urge them to support the Meals on Wheels program." Is there an amendment to that effect?
Mayor Pro Tem Olson, I move to adopt the language you propose.
Second.
There's a motion and a second on the amendment. Is there any discussion from members of the public on the amendment? Any discussion from members of the council on the amendment? Hearing none, roll call, please, on the amendment.
Commissioner Jose?
Aye.
Commissioner Waldeck?
Aye.
Commissioner White?
Aye.
Commissioner Dettimo? Aye. Commissioner Barnett?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Olson?
Aye. The amendment passes 6-0. We're now back on the discussion of the overall resolution. Is there any discussion from members of the public on the resolution? Hearing none, discussion from members of the village council. Commissioner Barnett?
Thanks, David. This is a motion or a resolution that certainly makes sense, given the state of our state and the state of our community and the challenges that our seniors face. I guess I just want to kind of make sure that we're, at least my 2 cents in the record. We have enormous problems that are, for the moment, not affecting us here in Downers Grove as dramatically as they could be, certainly as dramatically as some of these agencies that receive state funding that haven't had release like we have. But people, I think, need to keep in mind that there is no bullet here, no silver bullet. The state may or may not get its act together, but any kind of situation that causes the state to end up with a budget has got to result mathematically in one of two things, either cuts to services like this or increased revenue, which is code for increased taxes. I don't know what the answer is going to be. It's not up to us to sort it out. But these resolutions, not unlike the ones that come from DMMC that say, hey, please don't touch our LGDF, they're great, and I suppose what they do is make our voices heard and known. I suspect our voices are already heard and known. I don't think there's anybody in Springfield who doesn't know that these are very real problems affecting very real people every day. The problem is there is a very big situation down there. And so the reason I bring this in is because we've got this in front of us. It's kind of an opportunity to talk about it a little bit. We're going to be faced with similar situations as to what the Meals on Wheels program and the DuPage Senior Citizens Council is faced with now, in all likelihood in the very near future. And so I'd encourage all of us to take this as an opportunity to think through this a little bit and how we might adjust what we do here. We've had some talks in the past that have kind of stalled about how we might use our Human Services Commission. There was some talk at a Long-Range Planning Commission meeting not long ago on that subject. There was talk a couple of years ago that I tried to head on that subject. Anything we can do to try and locally assess our needs and locally figure out how to cover those needs and figure out which needs can in fact be covered is going to be time well spent, unless everybody is just comfortable with big new taxes, because the math doesn't allow for anything else. So I'll be supporting this measure without hesitation, but I hope it's an opportunity for all of us to think pretty seriously about what the future for Downers lies, because these kinds of services are going to be a challenge for everyone to meet.
Thank you, Commissioner. Further comments from the council? Commissioner White?
Very briefly, I do agree there's a great many programs across the state that face similar challenges. I strongly support this resolution to make it the clear consent, for myself, to express the clear voice that Meals on Wheels is not a charity, that this is a vital public service, public program. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Jose?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I appreciate the comments from both of my colleagues who have spoken tonight. This is a vital program, and many seniors in Downers Grove and across DuPage County rely on it. I'm pleased that we have an appropriation restored in the budget for it, and I course, having been the author of most of the language here, strongly support it. And I thank my colleagues for allowing it to come forward, especially so quickly. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Further comment from members of the council? If not, roll call, please.
Commissioner White?
Aye.
Commissioner Waldeck?
Aye.
Commissioner Fatimo? Aye. Commissioner Jose?
Aye.
Commissioner Barnett?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Olson?
Aye. That matter passes unanimously. That ends our active agenda. We now move to item 7, first reading agenda. As custom, I'll turn over this portion of the meeting to Village Manager David Fieldman.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Only 2 items on tonight's first reading agenda. The first is an ordinance authorizing a new bond registrar and paying agent for the village. Here to present background information on this item is our Finance Director, Judy Budney.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. The village's financial advisor, Robert Baird, has recommended that the village use a bond registrar and paying agent for its outstanding municipal bonds. In essence, what this does is it shifts the risk of the payment process away from the village onto an expert. The village currently makes payments to the Depository Trust Company, or DTC, who in turn then makes the appropriate principal and interest payments to the bondholders. The new paying agent would be responsible for making timely payments, which would avoid default that would result if there were a late payment, processing all of the associated paperwork, including bond call notices, and for representing the village if there are any discrepancies in DTC's numbers. The cost of this service is $6,000 for 2016, of which $2,000 pertains to the stormwater bond refunding. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions from members of the Village Council on this item? Any questions or comments from members of the public? If not, we'll move on to the next item.
Which is a resolution authorizing a temporary use permit for the Rotary Club of Downers Grove for the 2016 Rotary Club Grove Fest. Here to present information on this item is our Community Development Director, Stan Popovich.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and council members tonight. As Manager Fieldman said, this is an authorization for a license agreement for the Rotary Club of Downers Grove. There we go. 7th annual event going to be held June 23rd to 26th, 2016. As you can see, we got all these great events moving forward with the Rotary Grove Fest, including the second craft beer event this year. The extents of the festival are the same as in previous years, basically surrounding the Main Street train station here and some of the surrounding streets, outlined here in yellow. If we look at the layout, it's the same layout as in previous years. The yellow boxes are where the amusement rides and games will be located. The purple box is the beer garden, where we'll have the craft beer event, and then the main stage for the entertainment. And then the blue line here shows where all the tents will be set up for the various vendors as well. The village has created a road closure plan, which we've had in previous years, showing the various roads that will be closed down. The red roads are closed on the first on Tuesday evening, and then we move through the blue and the yellow. You'll notice the 2 green roads. The south one on Main Street is closed on Saturday for the farmers market, and that'll reopen after the farmers market closes. And then the green road on Warren Avenue from Forest to the west there is closed for the car show. This is similar to road closures that we've had in the past years as well. The Community Events Commission reviewed the proposal at their January 14th meeting and unanimously recommended approval of the proposed Rotary Grove Fest license agreement. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer those at this time.
Are there any questions or comments from members of the Village Council? Questions or comments from members of the public? I do see we have 2 members of the Rotary Club present. Welcome to say something, or just not, or not. Hearing none, I think we're concluding with this item.
How about one thing? Thanks again for doing this. You guys, as everybody knows, stepped in and filled a void, and it's, from my perspective, that was a challenge in the beginning, and it's done nothing but get better and smoother since, so thank you.
I think we can all concur in that sentiment. Thank you, Commissioner Barnett, for sharing that.
And that ends our first reading tonight, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you very much. That moves on, brings us to Mayor's report on the agenda. There is no report. Item 9, Manager's report. Manager Fieldman.
No report tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Well then, Attorney Petrarca, Attorney's report.
Thank you. Only one item to present this evening. That is an ordinance authorizing a new bond registrar and paying agent for the Village of Downers Grove. That will appear on next week's active agenda. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That brings us to council member reports. Do members of the village council have any reports that they wish to share? Commissioner Waldeck?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. You know, we've been lucky this year with our winter. We've only had a bit of cold, a little bit of snow, but now it's time to get into winter and enjoy everything that winter has to offer, which means that this weekend is the Downtown Ice Festival from the 12th to the 14th. Also, February 14th is Valentine's Day. Can't think of a better way than to take your Valentine down to downtown Downers Grove, enjoy, and that's you know, take the whole family, enjoy the ice sculptures and all the activities. That's the 12th through the 14th in downtown. And hopefully we'll have weather that's not too cold, not too warm, so that the ice sculptures will remain standing for at least a couple of days so you can enjoy them. Secondly, another fun family event to mark your calendars with is February 20th from 6 to 8:30 p.m. The Community Adult Day Center is presenting their first ever Star Wars Costume Bash, celebrating 30 years in the galaxy. This event will be held at the Gloria Day location at 4501 Main Street in Downers. The day and hours were chosen so that it can be made by all family members, including the children. Dress them up in their favorite Star Wars costume. The day and hours were and the cost is $5 for an individual, $15 for an entire family. There's going to be door prizes and contests, a lot of kids' activities, so it should be a lot of fun. You can purchase tickets in advance by contacting the communityadultdaycenter.org. Information at info@communityadultdaycenter.org. Also, tickets can be pre-purchased at www.eventbrite, that's eventbrite, one word, .com. And so, you know, it's meant to be for family, and Star Wars is big, so come on out and support a good organization and have a lot of fun. A lot of good things happening in this cold weather. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Commissioner Waldeck. Further council member reports from any members of council? Nope. Hearing none, I'll just note that Friday is Lincoln's birthday, and Monday is the observed holiday, federal holiday, Washington's birthday, or commonly known as President's Day. So encourage everyone to remember those forefathers and those who've given so much to create a free country that we so enjoy today. With that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Hey, Mayor Olson, can I butt in for a second? Sorry, I thought you were going to call for new business items.
There is no new business on the agenda, but you can certainly discuss, and we can put it on a future agenda.
If you give me a moment, that's what I was going to do.
Sure.
Certainly not for discussion tonight, but I have two items I want to just give my colleagues a heads up on that I'll be presenting to them, ideally, in time for next week. We have a couple of issues that have to do with investment programs and construction projects that I'm concerned about. One is Deer Creek and its watershed and some of the flooding issues over there. If you're not current, Deer Creek is a tough situation because much of the problem in Deer Creek lies in a floodplain, which makes fixes both expensive and complex. But we have a pretty regular flow of communication from Deer Creek residents looking for resolution. I think we need to bring that forward and to a bit more of a head. Right now, it is essentially an identified project without a timetable, and I'd like us to talk some more about what that timetable should or could look like, as well as whether there's some opportunities to engage our neighbors to the east in Westmont a little bit. We share some responsibility there, and we share some opportunities, and there may be a way to make some progress on that by getting into a partnership with them. So you'll hear some more about that. Second thing is, you've seen a few emails and a couple of notes from Manager Fieldman concerning Jefferson Street. I may or may not be in a majority opinion here, but I think it's high time that Jefferson Street was, the responsibility for that street was accepted by this village and not pinned on the hopes of some future development, which is more than a decade now and not happening. So I'm going to bring both of those issues up next week and ask my colleagues to talk about them a little bit and see if we can find any common paths to move forward on. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. With that, I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner White?
Aye.
Commissioner Walden?
Aye.
Commissioner Matimo? Aye. Commissioner Jose?
Aye.
Commissioner Burnett?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilson?
Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you. Good night.